Hello and welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. You know, at some point I should start including the volume numbers of some of these issues so you guys actually know which ones I'm gonna be doing. Because, yeah, when I say I'm going to review Batman number 45 to 47, people naturally ask, which ones? Thanks to reboots and renumberings, there are like 3 or 4 options with that. But no, as I said last time, I'm covering the ones from after the New 52 ended. Yes, at the time of this video's release, these will be the most recent comics I'll have ever covered on the show. Although, since I suspect Heroes in Crisis is going to be covered in Event Comics Month 3 next year, that will quickly change. And what a coinky-dink! Heroes in Crisis is relevant to today's review. Let's talk about Tom King. And hoo boy, despite my whole talk about harassing creators in the Cassandra Cain retrospective and how that's, you know, bad, a lot of people are calling for his head after Heroes in Crisis, or making very bad assumptions about him based on his writing. You guys remember that sometimes creators can just make bad stories, right? It's not necessarily reflective of them as a person or anything. I mean, unless they're incredibly racist or something, then you can most certainly assume things about their character. But yeah, Tom King's career as of late as a writer has had its ups and downs. He's written critically acclaimed stories for both Marvel and DC, in particular Vision and Mr. Miracle. I can attest to the Mr. Miracle maxi series he wrote being excellent, but his run as the regular writer of Batman, not so much. I followed it for a bit, and while it does have a few moments of brilliance, there are just as many times where it's both baffling and idiotic. And we're going to be talking about a specific storyline in that run today, but let's set the stage here a bit more. So eventually, Geoff Johns pulled DC's head out of its own ass and made them realize, hey, maybe this whole New 52 thing was a stupid, terrible, no good idea, and we should probably fix that. The result was the initiative DC Rebirth, heralding a potential return of the previous continuity. Or at least parts of the continuity. The exact details we'll get into another time, but overall, the books were really, really good. I started regularly reading Superman and Action comics, Detective Comics, Wonder Woman again. There was an excellent Titans book featuring the adult heroes again. Teen Titans was meh, but hey, not everything can be perfect. It just felt like things were finally turning around at DC. And then Geoff Johns went to go help save the DC Cinematic Universe, and the comics division decided to stick its head back up its own ass again. It's not all bad, but man oh man, it felt like DC started backtracking. Not helped that the thing that DC Rebirth had been leading up to, a friggin' sequel to Watchmen, as well as a crossover with the DC Universe, 12 issues, began in November of 2017, and still isn't done yet at the time of this video's release. Yeah, 2 more issues to go. This is why I get so passionate about this show not coming out on Monday like it's supposed to. Stones and glass houses and all that. And hell, whatever effect it was supposed to have on the DC Universe as a whole, the entire point of the Rebirth Initiative feels like it's completely irrelevant now in light of everything that's happened in the comics. But yeah, let's talk about King's Batman. Very uneven. His writing style reminds me a lot of Grant Morrison. That kind of feeling like you turned over 2 pages at once kind of thing, where there is just enough information to convey what's going on, but only just barely, and as a result, it feels like the artist is supposed to have conveyed more information than they actually have. One storyline in particular I recall was The War of Jokes and Riddles. And I say recall kind of ironically, because for the life of me, it's a story that utterly baffled me as I read it. Supposedly about a war between Riddler and the Joker over who gets to kill Batman, it always felt like I was only reading tie-in issues to it and never the actual main plot. The only real thing of note about it is that it gave friggin' Kite Man a sympathetic origin story. However, a lot of people have grown understandably upset over another storyline that King penned. Namely, the wedding of Batman and Catwoman. Yes, DC made a very large song and dance about how Bruce and Selina would finally tie the knot for realsies and be a true couple. There was a lot of time invested in the build-up to it, a lot of promises made that it would totally happen. As is often in comics, it's expected that something like this would go awry and hackneyed, like the Joker would kill Catwoman or something like that. But no, what we got was equally dumb. As part of some goofy, long-term, overly elaborate plan to make Batman suffer, Bane gets Catwoman's best friend to plant the idea in her head that Batman shouldn't marry anybody, because having connections to people makes him a less effective crime fighter, so she calls the whole thing off. Putting aside the fact that you two were clearly in a relationship already and it didn't dull his abilities, this is the guy with multiple Robins under his belt, several sidekicks, Alfred, connections to the larger community as a whole. He already has a crap ton of connections that make him a more effective crime fighter. This was stupid. But yes, that lead up to their wedding. That brings us to the storyline we're going to talk about today, and the utter character assassination of another of my favorite heroes. And all to service a big crossover event called Heroes in Crisis, that continued on to assassinate all the characters in it. In some cases, literally. So let's dig into Batman Volume 3, number 45 to 47, The Gift.
Linkara's gonna teach you all a lesson you won't learn. Brodsky, you're not the smartest. Life out, you're not an artist. Anyone who's had a bad comic published, it could be your turn. Linkara, he's a man punch, wears a pretty hat. Linkara, he has a magic gun. Where'd he purchase that? Linkara, coins, robots, Amazon and trucks. Linkara, this comic sucks. Linkara.
The cover for number 45 is pretty good. Big Batman bust on top, city below him with the bat signal forming on his chest. Nicely artistic, though Batman exclaiming, "Booster Gold must die!" suggests that Booster Gold should be somewhere on this cover, which he is not. Also, I mentioned DC Rebirth before, but I should note that this is post-DC Rebirth as well. Yes, this is what they've been labeling books since then, DC Universe. It's ostensibly nothing of interest, just a label and not anything new, but its presence makes it seem like there's something going on. Maybe just as a brand awareness thing to distinguish it from the Marvel Universe? I don't know. We open with another person not on the cover, Hal Jordan. Don't worry, you can do anything, as long as you've got the will to do it. Look, Hal, if you can't help me move a couch this weekend, you can just say that. Let me show you an example. The ring won't let you hurt yourself, right? That's a big rule. But with enough willpower, and let's face it, who has more of that than me, I'm pretty sure I can get past that rule. Hal, this is not what I meant when I brought up the whole stop hitting yourself bullying thing. You want to see? Do you dare me? Yeah, you dare me. So you have enough willpower to commit suicide via the ring, but not to resist a dare? And yeah, Hal kills himself in a shot that's reflected in Booster Gold's goggles. I will not be showing you that because seriously, what in the actual hell? Booster has no emotional response to this on his face other than dull surprise, but I think we can all agree that the dull surprise clip would be kind of in bad taste. Much like this opening shot! So, what's Booster's actual reaction to seeing his friend, comrade, and fellow superhero just kill himself in such a gratuitous, horrifying manner? That was intense. Seriously intense. But, you know, also, admittedly, a little bit, or kind of, awesome! Oh yeah, Booster, I think my favorite part was when my jaw dropped to the floor reading that for the first time last year! What the hell just happened? Points for having a shocking opener and attention-getter comic, but considering where this is all leading to, it's especially in poor, horrible taste and completely out of character for friggin' Booster Gold! He's with Skeets, his robot buddy, and says that they should try and find Batman. Yes, well, I don't know about you, but I think this is the worst thing you've ever done. Is this implying that Booster deliberately did that to Hal? Dude, I know you're sick of people calling you Green Lantern, but that's a bit over the top! So why the hell did Hal do that? Well, the comic very quickly establishes that we're living in an alternate timeline, and people are becoming Jokerized, much like what had once happened in the actual DC universe, though obviously from a different source. So Hal was suffering from some kind of insanity brought on by this condition, something that's becoming quite common. Over the course of this first issue, we see where various members of the Bat family are. Tim Drake working an office job and a co-worker mentioning a Joker killing a woman on a bus, with him shrugging off not only the murder, but the fact that both he and another person were ready to shoot said Joker immediately. Like this was just a common inconvenience. Oh man, what a day. Missed the bus, didn't get a chance to take my lunch break, a Joker murdered 3 people in the lobby, and worst of all, Lumberg's gonna make me work on Saturday, I just know it. Oswald Cobblepot is the president, so I see in this reality people really took to the I played this stinking city like a harp from hell thing a lot better than in the movie. And Ra's al Ghul is openly running Eurasia, so he's got 2 continents under his belt. Something like the Penguin being president would honestly be fine given what we find out later about how this altered timeline occurred. Not so much of that aspect, but we'll get to that. In Gotham, Booster and Skeets discover a broken bat signal, indicating that there is a Batman in this world, but it being broken is bad. They create an imitation one while the two banter, I guess, but it feels off given both what I know is coming, but also it reads like someone who only peripherally knows about Booster Gold. Him calling Skeets a nag because of, well, how much nagging he does. Booster and Skeets sometimes have a frustrated best friends kind of thing going for them, but this reads like Booster is just an irresponsible moron, which would be considerably better than what we actually get about him in this story. You know things are bad when one form of terrible writing is preferable to another. Booster is shot from behind, and he is once again portrayed as an unprepared dolt, as Skeets points out that he only survived the bullet because he reconfigured Booster's costume the previous year. Which I did, despite your numerous protests that armor flattens my buns. Well, Skeets, to be fair, if Steve Rogers is America's ass, then Booster Gold is the space-time continuum's ass. In more ways than one. Unfortunately, we soon see that the one who shot Booster was Batman himself, armed to the teeth. Move and die! Considering you tried to shoot him while he was just standing there, what difference does it make to move? Booster tries to talk to him, ignoring the multiple bullets sent at him. Skeets tries to get him to stop talking, but Booster keeps going. I got you a gift. It was supposed to be armor-piercing bullets, but in retrospect, I should probably just get you a gift card instead. More banter, and this one is actually so much worse than before. Skeets says that they should have gotten him a cheese tray. He's got a butler, and a mansion, and like 3 other mansions. Why would he need a cheese tray? I don't know, perhaps he needs to cut cheese. Wait, are you saying he needs to cut the... No, please, Booster, you're above that. Bruce Wayne, wedding night, cutting the cheese! I love you, Bat. Oh yes, and I love you, Cat. And also... Hey, remember how 5 minutes ago you watched Hal Jordan kill himself horrifically? Why are you doing this right now? Like, what the hell tone is this thing going for? Dark humor, maybe? At best? I mean, it's followed up by Booster acting childish and copying everything Skeets is saying right before Batman lassos him by the neck. The Batman is apparently right above us. Which, I see, you've already discovered. Still inappropriate given Booster is choking to death right now, but that one was at least funny, I'll grant you. You're a superhero. You're in my city, where you could be jokered. So I'm gonna kill you before you're jokered.
There is logic in what he says.
Skeets' facial recognition software shows that this isn't Bruce, but Dick Grayson in the costume. Upon hearing his real name, he's taken aback, but still keeps trying to shoot at Booster. Skeets frees Booster, and they fly away to go look for Bruce, continuing their idiotic banter. Or rather, the banter that makes Booster look like an idiot. This is a problem that I think a lot of writers have with Booster Gold. This perception of him as stupid. Probably built on him being played up as a joke for so long in Justice League International. It's not that he's dumb, it's that he's straightforward. By that I mean he has a very uncomplicated view of morality and the world, how things should work, and how to solve situations. He doesn't think too hard about a problem because he thinks that the problem and its solution does not require a lot of thinking. If A is the issue, then do B to solve it. If someone tries to object with more complex details, he'll brush them aside because that's not A to B thinking. This can be foolish, but it doesn't make him foolish, just that he doesn't always consider the broader ramifications of what he's doing. But he will accept his faults when he's confronted with said ramifications, and he will learn from his mistakes, especially when they're costly ones. He is still a very moral person. It is a character flaw, most certainly, but it's not like we want characters to be completely perfect. But writers will often make him into a total moron because they don't understand the difference. But yeah, they head to see Bruce, who is celebrating his birthday with his very much alive parents. And naturally, Booster just smashes through a window to say hi in the middle of the birthday party, raining shattered glass onto people. I'd say Tom King thought he was writing an Adam Sandler comedy with this, but I'm pretty sure those have more dignity than this storyline. So now, in 9 panels that are very much structured like how Heroes in Crisis would structure certain elements, Booster outlines his entire plan. Batman and Catwoman are getting married, so he decided to get Bruce a wedding present. He was inspired by the classic Alan Moore story, For the Man Who Has Everything, wherein the supervillain Mongol had Superman's mind trapped in a mental paradise where everything is great, but had to break free of it and realized that things were much better out in the real world. That's a pretty good gift, you've got to admit. No! No, it wasn't! The entire idea behind the Black Mercy plant is that it forces you to reject your heart's desire and happiness in order to escape it. It's incredibly, horribly, emotionally painful, and I'm pretty sure they would have mentioned that part to you. So yeah, he decided that knowing your life is a worthwhile life is what he decided to give Bruce for his wedding. So he went back in time and saved Bruce's parents, and now, since the world has gone to hell in a handbasket, they can go back to the original timeline again and get peace. So, here's a little clip from Office Space that I like to call Tom King Tells Anybody his idea for this storyline.
That is the worst idea I've ever heard in my life, Tom.
Like, do I have to explain why this is a horrible idea? Why this makes no sense? Why it is so incredibly, insanely stupid? I feel like I'd be insulting the intelligence of you, my viewing audience, to tell you why this is such a terrible idea. Like this show has demonstrated so very many terrible villain plans. Nightcrawler as the Pope, Dr. Doom trying to steal intelligence from children, a guy trying to keep kids from going to college, just so many awful ideas, and yet somehow it is this plan by a hero that arguably puts them all to shame. I'm gonna take the worst trauma of your life, the thing that made you who you are, and show you why it's actually better this way. I think that sums it all up in one sentence, doesn't it? And here's where we get back into that whole Booster played as an idiot thing. Because, no, never in the history of this character would he ever be this stupid, this moronic. To quote Commander Riker, you are incapable of that level of incompetence. It is impossible for Booster Gold to be that stupid. I mean, we have seen Booster Gold on this show, in particular during the Blue Beetle retrospective. The man who risked the time stream to save the life of his best friend and had to face the horrible consequences of doing so. And even if you tried to say, well, this is New 52 Booster Gold, he's not as wise as the original. Well, not really, because earlier in DC Rebirth, Booster Gold and Skeets showed up and teamed up with Superman when he tried to go back in time and was indeed charged with protecting the damn timeline. You want to know how you make the story work? Have the gift be, he takes Bruce back to see his parents one last time before the wedding. Bruce can't help himself and talks to them, timeline is altered, boom! Suddenly it's not being stupid, but an honest attempt to do right by your friend. But I guess that wouldn't work, because that would make sense, and that's not what they were going for with this story. Bruce says that he always felt something was wrong and he had dreams of the true timeline, even felt that Booster would be coming. And as such, he takes a fire poker and smashes Skeets, who's also serving as Booster's time machine, another continuity flub, but whatever compared to the larger one, to ensure he can't get his parents killed again. Okay, this part is not entirely without precedent. I recall an issue of Batman Superman that involved time travel and making sure the Waynes got killed. Bruce was unable to stop himself from intervening and saving their lives, so him trying to save them like this, even knowing the truth, is not out of character. So yeah, Booster's in shock and Bruce just says he'll have Alfred show him out while he goes back to his parents' anniversary party. Wait, I thought it was his birthday party.
Great continuity!
Moving on to Batman number 46. The cover's fine, featuring a now bearded Booster Gold alongside Batman and Catwoman. Oh good, now I don't have to call him Booster Gold anymore. He is now Bearded Idiot. On the run. From the future! Look out, the future's brakes have been cut! We cut to a year later, where Booster is breaking into Arkham Asylum to bust Catwoman out of there, saying that together they'll save the world. Catwoman just winks at him and says, meow. This will be her only dialogue in the entire comic. Also, this is admittedly less winking and more an eyelash is stuck in my eye. Meanwhile, Bruce talks with his father in Wayne Tower. He's concerned that with Catwoman broken out of prison, Batman will go after her. Since in the altered timeline, she's a serial killer, chaos will erupt, President Cobblepot will request assistance from Ra's al Ghul with the problems in Gotham, which is apparently perpetually on fire. I haven't mentioned that, but smoke is billowing all over the place in any shot we see of it. You'd think Lando Calrissian was in charge of this place with as many clouds as there are. This leads me into the next what the hell of the story. How does saving the Waynes result in all this? Like I said, I could buy that the Penguin could become president. The Waynes were different people from Bruce, and maybe their survival meant they'd be supporters of him, doing a bid for elected office, etc., etc. But how the hell does Dick Grayson become Batman? How does Catwoman become a serial killer who only speaks in meows? How does Ra's al Ghul take over 2 continents? Batman is great and all, but some of the changes in the timeline are ludicrous. How does the Jokerizing even work? Why does it happen versus just having the one Joker? Even assuming the Joker still becomes the Joker without Batman. And yes, it would have to be Bruce's Batman because the age would be all wrong otherwise. Ugh. Anyway, Bruce's father, feeling bad about all this, has a heart attack. Bearded Idiot, in the meantime, has brought Selina to a motel room and is babbling to her about his latest plan to try to fix all this because he has gone cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Which seems to be also the idea behind why he's acting so out of character, that he's actually suffered some kind of nervous breakdown and as a result is acting irrationally. Yeah, I don't buy it. For starters, we never learn what it was exactly that caused it, not here nor in Heroes in Crisis. Secondly, too much of this behavior just comes across as immature idiocy, not someone barely holding it together. That whole, wow, Hal killing himself was awesome thing especially comes to mind. Thirdly, it seems like Skeets would have stepped in to stop this or get help if that was the case. It's not like he's undyingly subservient to Booster, he has a mind of his own and, while frustrated with Booster, does consider him a friend and will work with him. So either Booster has been insane this whole time, or he's an idiot. And the comic seems to lean towards the latter, especially in this scene. His solution to this is that because of another plot that occurred in Tom King's run where Harley Quinn helped bring Poison Ivy back from the brink, which also led to Heroes in Crisis, because Ivy loves Harley. And thus his plan is to bring Selina in because he's who Batman loves. Ignoring, of course, that this is a different timeline and Selina's a serial killer who won't talk to you in words. Because love finds a way and all you have is love and love is here to stay. And then he'll see that here he can't, but there he can, he has to or he will. Then he'll want to turn here into there, and everything is fine and good again.
I see.
Okay, I think I can buy that Booster went insane after Skeets was killed, at least. And geez, with the beard and the fact that he's still in his costume, I can also believe that he probably hasn't taken a shower in a year. Yeesh. You know Selina's not in her right mind either, if she can stand to be in a room with him. There's a moment where it looks like he has some lucidity to realize the absurdity of this plan, but then decides what they need is for her to wear a whole lot of leather. I tried to sew it, but I'm not good at sewing. Or shaving. Skeets actually handled that. He was repurposed from an old electric razor. You know who could sew? Ted Cord, the Blue Beetle. He helped me fix his costume so many times. Yeah, this is another thing that kind of muddies the water a bit considering Rebirth and the changing timeline. As part of DC Rebirth, Ted Cord was reestablished as a presence in the DC universe and acted as a mentor to Jaime Reyes, having been the Blue Beetle in the past, but not anymore. But since he wasn't originally part of the New 52, it's unclear what Booster is referring to here concerning his friendship with him. And apparently in this alternate timeline, Ted is dead along with the rest of the Justice League, having been killed fighting Starro the Conqueror. You know, if the pre-New 52 Booster Gold had learned about this, he probably would have strangled this bearded idiot by now just for that. But yeah, Booster has sewn up a costume for Catwoman. And it's basically the Batman Returns costume for her, although on the cover it looked more gray than black. This was a very important reference to make in this story because Christopher Walken, you got anything?
Yawn.
At the hospital, Bruce is trying to think positively about his father's condition along with his mother. Mother, it's going to be fine. Oh, Brucey, you never were the world's greatest detective. What the hell's that supposed to mean? Yeah, I know what she's referencing, but in the context of the scene, what does being a detective have to do with him thinking optimistically? The doctor informs them that he's gonna pull through, but the scene is weird. Like, he wants to talk to them privately, and he's all dour and stuff, but when they insist on him just telling them right away, he says Thomas Wayne is recovering, and the two seem really serious and sad. Like, what the hell happened here? Was he originally supposed to have died here, but the creative team changed their minds and they didn't have time to alter the artwork? Back to Catwoman and Bearded Idiot, the Dick Grayson Batman shows up and attacks the two, forcing them to flee. Booster flies Catwoman to Wayne Manor, saying he'll set up the meet-cute for them at the manor instead of a rooftop like he had hoped. Back at the manor, Thomas Wayne is telling Bruce that he shouldn't be so happy since the world is going to hell in a handbasket, but he's just pleased that everyone is alive and well and not murdered horribly, and oh look, here comes Booster Gold and Catwoman to ruin everything. Yep, Catwoman just kills Alfred and then Thomas Wayne. Selina, I closed the orphanage. I did the work that put you away. I paid for your cell. Take me. Let my son go. I feel like we're missing some context here. Batman shows up too. How the hell did he know where they were going? And kills Selina. In the ensuing struggle, Martha Wayne gets shot by him, and Bruce shoots Batman dead, leaving our bearded idiot to babble on the floor, ending issue 46. Did I do it? I bet I did it. I'm a hero. I always do it. I have to do it. I save the world. Well, Booster, gotta say, I have a few notes on your performance. Our final cover is fine, Batman throwing Booster Gold off a rooftop. For my parents to live, I must kill Booster Gold! At this point, it's a mercy killing. It's another year later. Scientists working for Bruce have reconstructed Skeets and inform Bruce that he refuses to talk to anyone but Booster. We soon see that Booster has been chained up in a cave and has gone completely mad. And gone completely emaciated. Yeesh. Once again, the tone is all over the place, as even in this state, there's jokey jokes and the like. Bruce's assistants have Booster cleaned up and shaven, probably the first time water has touched him in 2 years, as he recounts his backstory, which has remained unchanged despite all the reboots. Booster, where have you been? I was dead. I got better. Where have you been? I was crazy. I see. And did you get better? I don't know. Probably not. Again, what the hell are we going for here? The level of darkness and violence and depressing madness in this story alongside jokes like this. What are we supposed to be feeling here? The whole thing is just so uncomfortable and awkward. And if that's what they were going for, well, bravo, but it doesn't make it good. It's still doing a horrible disservice to Booster. In any case, Bruce wants Booster to have them travel back in time to kill Batman and Catwoman before his own parents are killed. And I guess he decided to use Batman's gun to do it, which Even still has the bat logo on it. To compel them to obey, a bomb has been placed inside Skeets, and Bruce is all too ready to kill Booster if he's forced to destroy Skeets again. In retrospect, you were right. We should have gotten him a cheese tray. No, Booster, you were still right about that. Just, I don't know, get him a TiVo subscription or something. It doesn't matter if he's rich already, he'll still appreciate it. More awkward, terrible humor follows as he tries to make the two transport them back to the incident. Bruce insists they go back to 10 minutes before his parents were killed, and Booster hits on an idea, giving Skeets those exact instructions, and then very obviously winks at him. And again, more awkward humor. Did Tom King think this was a comedy? Because you can get away with stupid characters in a comedy, but it's very rare that a comedy ends up featuring your fiancé from an alternate timeline slaughtering your family. But yeah, they travel back in time, except back to when the Waynes were originally killed in the alley. Due to the awkward conversation, Bruce has shot Skeets and they're now stranded on a rooftop. Bruce demands to know what the hell's going on, and Booster rambles that he became a part of the family of superheroes of the past. And thus he did what heroes do, what families do. I got you a gift! Yeah, Booster, but most families are also considerate enough to get a gift receipt with the present too! Or hell, why didn't you just check their registry, you idiot? Past Booster, the one who initially went back in time to save the Waynes, shows up and quickly deduces that his plan worked, and they're here to stop him from saving the Waynes so that history can be restored. Past Booster gets shot in the ensuing struggle, and the Waynes are killed, and future Bruce elects to shoot himself, mirroring the shot from Hal's suicide with Booster's blank expression that I will yet again not show. At this point, the space-time continuum is just shrugging. And so this god-awful storyline ends with Booster meeting with the proper Batman and Catwoman and explaining this whole thing to them while he rambles about a smudge of Bruce's blood on his goggles. You know, I praised them dropping the DC Rebirth label on books after a year so that it wouldn't outstay its welcome, unlike the New 52 labeling that lasted 3 years. But maybe they should have stuck with it a bit longer, because what can I say but yikes? These comics suck! The one positive I can give this storyline is the artwork by Tony Daniels. Gorgeous, well-made stuff with very expressive faces and dynamic action. The actual sequential storytelling is well done, and there are some very striking visuals in the book, like the emaciated Booster chained up. And of course, what makes this so terrible is the writing. The tone is just off throughout the whole thing, and Booster Gold's characterization is sickeningly wrong, all just to set up his status quo in Heroes in Crisis, which, as I've said, even if it doesn't end up being voted for in Event Comics Month 3, is gonna get a review eventually, because it's jaw-dropping how many more characters get the same treatment as Booster on top of all the other problems it has. It's also very much a case of show, don't tell, as the comic has to keep reinforcing to us that this world is absolutely horrible because Bruce's parents are alive, but the dominoes don't fall in any realistic fashion, especially the presence of the murderous Dick Grayson Batman running around Gotham. We barely know anything about this alternate timeline other than parts of it suck. Except even in the proper DC universe, parts of it suck. At least Flashpoint had massive wars that were sinking continents, and by its finale, the actual end of the world was approaching. This doesn't even have that going for it. And the things it does tell us about this alternate timeline barely have any bearing on the plot. Why the Jokerizing? What does the Ra's al Ghul or President Cobblepot stuff have to do with anything? And while I mentioned that Bruce destroying Skeets was in character for Bruce, if he was aware of the alternate timeline and how the universe was better, then it's kind of character assassination for Bruce, implying that he is so far up his own ass about his parents that any day now, the real Batman will steal a time machine to go save them, damn the consequences. Just an awful, awful three-parter that leaves you angry and disgusted by the end of it. Next time, let's take a trip into something hopefully a lot more optimistic, and yet still incredibly goofy, by returning to the Star Trek The Next Generation comics.
Sitting
I thought maybe it's me in my head. I thought it'd be better if I told you everything. How you were happy and the world wasn't. And it was a gift.
Well, next time, Booster, just FYI, Alfred has been looking for a new cheese tray.
Hello, my friends. Please be sure to like this video, subscribe, hit the bell, and share it with others. And if you get a chance, maybe check out my Patreon.